welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am excited again and again and again with another amazing professional here that is on the podcast. In 2018, she stepped up to the plate to talk about her business, her profession, and also one of the things that she's doing out here in the community. So if you did not get a chance to get on the BMWOC podcast in 2018, make sure you sign up for the 2019 podcast coming up for the call of speakers later on this year. Just in case you did not know, the purpose of the BMWOC podcast is to not only share our industry information, but we are encouraging you, the career seeker, to enter their line of work and recognize the different trends that's going on in our industry today. We want you to take a moment to also visit all the pages and listen to all the podcasts that we have, because there is so much information. Oh my goodness, you just don't understand how much information there is on this podcast, and we do not want you to miss this unique opportunity. Before we get started, we would like to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors and partners, which are Kat Sereno, LLC, Cheryl Wood and Powers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliate partners and sponsors, and everybody who is on this podcast today. So today I'm extra excited because I have on the platform today another business affiliate sponsor who is here to represent and support small businesses. And I'm really just happy to see that we have a lot more younger people here on the podcast. I can't tell you how excited I am. So I want to introduce Miranda Dennis. She is the owner of Oasis Clinical Counseling Services, and she is also a licensed clinical social worker in the states of New York and Virginia. She is also the only certified dialectical, I think I got the right, certified dialectical behavior therapist in Hampton Roads, Virginia. She goes far and beyond her traditional talk therapy. Her vision is to promote real world experience and skills in effort to help individuals and groups and organizations progress towards their goals. And she is very committed to providing these services that are tailor fit to the needs of those she serves. She has a consulting group and skills training workshops, and she has facilitated other different type of training for the National Association of Social Worker chapters, among other places for which she has spoken. And so I want people to continue reading her bio. And Miranda, welcome to the
Yes.
podcast.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, and thank you again for being a business affiliate sponsor, supporting the movement, and
Yes.
being part of just a bigger thing here. So, introduce yourself, where you're from, and how did you get into social work?
Hello. Okay, so I'm Miranda Dennis, and I currently reside in Norfolk, Virginia, and I got into social work. I feel like social work chose me at a very early age, actually, and probably maybe about 10 years ago, I actually found an old elementary school yearbook, and it was just a black and white little yearbook our school decided to throw together. And they had our little picture and nicknames that we went by, and what do we want to be when we grow up. Well, lo and behold, as an adult, I found that, and mine actually said social work. And I had no idea what a social worker was. I never had a social worker at that young age. I don't even think I recognized the word. And so I kind of always felt like, wow, looking back, I was like, that was within me, caring for others and helping others see their in reaching their highest potential, pushing people to be their best self, teaching skills, advocating. It kind of has always been innate within me. Even in high school, I kind of was the go-to person. I was the person that, kind of like the mama of the group that everyone would go to. And it just, caring for others became my passion. And many people in the helping profession often choose to help because of our own personal traumas, really. And so turning that around and being able to say, you know what, like, yes, bad things happen, and here are some skills and tools and support to help you to use that past as your stepping stone to your next level of greatness. So that's kind of
Wow.
that's kind of what empowered me to help
Mhm.
empower other people.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you really was innate, like you said, with
Yeah.
social work, even at a young age. Were there other
Mhm.
industries that kind of just came and went and, and you said, okay, let me check that out, but then still ended up back into the social work interest?
That's a great question because a lot of times a lot of people will say, "Oh, I did criminal justice or I did, teaching or some other helping profession." I literally everything has been always social work. My bachelor's is in social work, my master's in social work, and then of course my two state licenses are the clinical license of social work. And so it has been my foundation, um, and I value it, and so it's just something that just resonates within me.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so break down this thing that I call myself trying to pronunciate, which is the certified dialectical. I've never heard of that before. What exactly is a dialectical behavior?
Okay, great question. A lot of people get kind of stuck with that. So, the best way that I can describe, or the easiest way that I describe it, is that there are four core areas and we can just call it DBT for short. A lot of, that's much easier.
Yes,
So,
it is. Okay, DBT. Okay.
DBT, yes.
All right, we're going to stick with that. Okay.
So there are four core areas, and all of these areas teach people how to build a life that they find worth living. So it was founded by Marsha Linham, and basically she was able to, and it does combine some basic other therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and those things, and there's no way it can get into all of that. But the four core skills that I teach are mindfulness. So we hear a lot about people gaining control over their attention and their thoughts. Um, a lot of times we'll go through life, and we'll wonder, we'll be driving along and wonder, how did I get, which way did I turn? You don't remember if you put your signal on. You don't remember how you got from A to B. Well, that's called mindlessness because we're so busy multitasking so many times that we don't even take time to tune into who we are, what we're doing. So I teach people how to live a life with a participating sense of awareness of what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And so that's mindfulness. The other skill that I teach is distress tolerance. So how to deal with painful life situations without making them worse. Because pain will come, disappointment will happen. How do I deal with it in the moment without exploding, without saying things that I later regret and then say, "Oh, I was angry. That's why I said that. That's why I did that." Well, anger doesn't justify necessarily aggressive behaviors. So what can I do instead? Because it's anger, sadness, all of those feelings are energy. So when you learn how to turn the energy into something positive and you learn how to turn the energy into something productive, then you're going to be able to get through that distressing moment. The third core skill I teach, and I touched a little bit into it, is the emotion regulation. So in society now, we know about three emotions. I'm mad, I'm happy, and I'm sad.
That's right. I'm mad, happy, sad. That's
Well,
all we know. That's right.
we are a lot more complex than that,
Hmm.
and but there are eight primary emotions that we're all born with. They're innate within us. Think of a baby that you give a baby something they don't like. immediately they're like, "Ugh," they're spewing it out of their mouth, they're frowning, they might be crying. They are expressing disgust. And so when I teach emotion regulation, we learn what are those 8 primary emotions we're born with, because all other emotions we experience, we call those secondary emotions. So helping people to know the difference between being embarrassed and being angry, or being embarrassed because you're surprised about something. So yeah, I can go into a lot of detail about that. But it's
Yeah.
all about the more we learn
Hmm.
about our emotions and we
Hmm.
learn how they impact and influence what we do and what we don't do, then we have power over them to make healthier life decisions. And then the last skill that I teach is interpersonal effectiveness. So this is a big one because it's all about relationships. So how to ask for what you want, keep relationships, and keep your self-respect. Because all too often we have people who will just say yes because they don't want to argue. They won't ask for things that they need. They'll suffer in silence. We will have people who are aggressive with communication and don't know the difference between being assertive and then how to end unhealthy relationships. So in my groups and in my counseling practice, those are the 4 core skills that I teach people so that they can take those skills, they practice them with me. We'll go through worksheets, we'll review them. They have homework that they have to do. And a lot of times I'll challenge them to teach someone else a skill, and then they become the teacher. So then the skills become more ingrained in who they are, and then they find that, oh, once I've used these skills, yes, I may have an intense reaction or from something upsetting, but it doesn't take me through the roof, and it might take me up a little bit. It might be, maybe a 8 on the scale of 1 to 10, but I'm able to come back down and regroup and gain control over my actions much quicker than I was before. That's kind of
Wow.
a nutshell.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that is very interesting, and you touched
Mhm.
on all of the behavior points, which is what we
Yes.
all deal with. But I think I fall in like that first one where I'm sort of just tuning out because I am
Mhm.
multitasking so many times, and,
Yes. Yes.
and then I forget like, what am I doing this for? Okay,
Mhm.
I just go into that moment.
Yes.
I think a lot of us do that, and
Mhm.
it's really good that you kind of broke this down in a way that is, recognizable, digestible, because I've
Yes.
never really thought about it this way. And then I have to ask the question, right? With
Mhm.
all of the people that is doing life coaching and other type of therapy, um, why isn't this dialectical behavior talked about more often? Because
That
this is the first time
great
I've heard of
question.
it.
Well, I'll tell you partly because a lot of people don't want labels, right? Mental health labels. We don't want to deal with that. But DBT was originally developed for people that have borderline personality disorder. So when people start hearing borderline
Oh,
personality disorders, it's like, whoa, whoa, hands off. We don't
oh,
want to talk about that. That's not me.
okay.
Well, but the skills have been, and it's an evidence-based practice. There's tons of research that backs this practice up. And so, yes, it works for borderline personality. But as the years went on, other therapists started using it with depression, using it with, anxiety, substance abuse, eating disorders, all types of other, in the mental health field, other diagnoses. So it's a term that more therapists are becoming familiar with and being able to decipher and use within their own practice. But it is an intense training. My training was on my to the road of certification. It was literally about a year-long training. And so, I mean, we had to put together a program. So it's not something that you can just read in a book and say, "Oh, I got this." It's a pretty intense certification process. But once you get it, then yes, you'll be able to effectively teach other people of how
Hmm.
to use these skills so that they can, begin to see some progress in their own life.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
So, all right, that is very interesting. Okay, maybe I have a couple of personalities. I think we all have
We
personalities
we
that we didn't
all
even
could
know we
benefit from
have.
these skills.
Yes, I'm now I'm thinking maybe I should investigate that because you
Mhm.
just never know what other stuff mentally. The brain to me is a very fascinating thing. There's so much about
Yes,
the brain that we do not know, and it's so
so
much about
true.
our consciousness that we do not know. And just
Mhm.
thinking about what you said in those four areas and then using that technique to kind of get out the core
Mhm.
of what people are feeling and thinking so they could deal with the issues, that
Yes.
is really key. I've never heard it put that way, and I think we need to have more conversations on that point.
Yes,
So I want to
absolutely.
so I want to ask you a question about your business Oasis. Tell us about how you started your business, and how did you run into the dialect behavior? I should say, was that before you started your business or after when you were in practice?
Yes. So I was trained in DBT in 2011, and I started my practice in 2014, September of 2014. And so I came into DBT sort of by force, I want to say. My supervisor at the time wanted us to go, offered my team at the time to go for a training. It was a free 2-day training, introduction training. Well, I wasn't really interested because I felt like some of the way it was presented at that time, I felt conflicted with some of my Christian beliefs. So I was like, I'm not interested in that type of therapy. I'm not going to be doing any Zen Buddhist meditations. I'm not doing any of that religious kind of therapy stuff. And so I kind of, pushed it to the side. But as I began to study and understand that it really is about looking for the truth between what seems opposite and opposing thoughts and teaching people how to pick that out, I said, oh, DBT is something that I can align with. And I saw the effectiveness with my clients who were at the time, using the emergency room almost every other day because they just couldn't maintain in the community. And so I brought that training into my private practice because I wanted to build a DBT-based group practice, but I also wanted to build me being able to utilize the training and merging it with Christian principles. And that's not something that has been done, is being able to integrate biblical perspective, scriptures, and the DBT training because I saw people in the pews, in the church pews, hurting and not going to therapy because of the stigma that's attached to it. So part of the mission of what Oasis does is to build that gap, is to educate the church, educate the community that these are basic skills that if you use them and apply them, then you can sustain the deliverance that you say that you have, that you received at the altar. So yes, you're delivered, you're free, you praise God, and you're in the altar. And then when you leave, what have you done to create an environment that's going to sustain the deliverance? So that's a portion of what I do is making sure that I'm providing the
Wow.
Christian-based counseling and integrating these skills
Hmm.
to the church. And then then I have the other component with just DBT, and people that of all faiths are welcome, of course, to that. Um, is to have the group sessions, and typically I run 14 to 16 week groups 2 times a year for that.
Wow. That is very interesting. You are definitely doing something that nobody else seems to be doing.
Yeah, yes.
I love that. I love
Yes.
you. I love uniqueness, and I like the fact that you are, really touching base with that spiritual side because a lot
Mhm.
of our decisions are based on our gut and our spirit, and
Mhm.
so a lot of times we make mistakes because we're not listening to what we're supposed to be doing consciously, and so you're kind of tapping into that. And that
Yes.
is very, very interesting. And so, what has been the feedback or the impact from people who you have counseled in either of those two arenas?
Great question. I actually had a group last night, and one of the young ladies in the group was just like on fire. Like she's just like, helping everyone else, bringing it together, bringing the thoughts together. And so I'm looking at her, and she pauses and she says, Miranda, I have to say, and I have to thank you for not letting me quit, because when I first came here, I was overly frustrated. Things were not clicking fast enough, and you kept telling me, keep working at it. It's hard, and you can do it. Keep working at it. Keep practicing. Keep doing the home practice, and you will see the result. She said, I'm at this point. She's probably about, I don't know, 7 months into the program in general, and she's like, I see what you're saying now that I couldn't see before. So thank you for holding my hand until I could see it. And I'm just like, yes, that's what it's all about. Is because in the
Yes.
beginning, when our mind is so clouded and confused and overwhelmed, and our emotions are so intense and we don't even know what we're experiencing, let alone don't know how to express it to someone, when you can be in a place and not judged, and still, I'm going to be with you, whether, and a lot of times I'll have people kind of fighting me in the beginning. Well, I'm not going to do that. Well, it's not going to work. And I'm their cheerleader. I'm like, yes, it is. You have to try it. You have to try it. Come on. And the more that I'm able to, they create that buy-in, they have to trust me. And when I get them to trust me, and they can say, okay, you say it's going to work, so I believe you, so now I believe that I can do it. And it's just an amazing process to see the transformation. It excites me every time, and it gets
Wow.
me pumped, and I'm just like, yes, I'm ready for another round.
Wow, well, that is fantastic news because there's nothing greater than people who help other people to get that feeling. I know I do when I'm helping
Hmm.
people realize and have that aha moment. And I just feel
Yes,
so great that I'm able to contribute to the better quality of their life, to help them
yes,
figure out, what was that thing that they were missing that they just could not see. And sometimes it takes someone who's very objective and can actually look at the whole situation and help them, and that is always to me a good thing.
yes.
So you actually wrote a book too based on all of this, so talk about your book, because I'm
Okay.
really interested of, after you did all this stuff you was like, okay, aha, I need to put this in a book, right?
Yes, and actually it happened literally last year, this month. So March 2017, I was at a women's conference, and the speaker was a psychologist from out west, and he was talking about emotional healing, and he was talking about, people praying and not getting through, not feeling that their prayers have gotten through, and they've been carrying around resentment and anger and hurt and bitterness for years because they felt like God had forsaken them. And so I'm sitting there, and he's talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, these people need DBT. And
That's right.
immediately it was like,
Okay.
as we went
Mhm.
through, I felt like God was downloading the plan to get from the altar to sustain the deliverance in everyday life. So my ordered steps came out of that, and it's a dialectical behavioral wellness planner that will help balance out the social, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. It's a 90-day wellness planner that walks people through learning how to gain better control of those emotions, learning how to have better interpersonal effectiveness skills. And if that means saying no, not apologizing for requesting a need that they have, I walk you through that. How to deal with those stressful situations, how to integrate prayer. I have a daily formula, and I call it the pray, work, play, and repair formula. So we go through that every day. You set a weekly mantra, a small goal for the week. You track emotions. All of that is in the planner, because what happens is we have tons of people who are writing books of inspiration, tons of people writing books sharing their story of triumph from heartache, triumph from divorce, triumph from sex trafficking, whatever it is. And we're moved by those things and we're touched by those things. Well, and that's great. So what's the other piece is, okay, we've connected with those stories of healing for a reason, because there's some internal healing for many of us that we still need to do. Well, the My Ordered Steps is the planner that gets you to your own personal healing. That's the best
Wow.
way I can describe it.
No, you did it perfectly. I'm sitting here listening intently, like, okay, wow. You really have the whole package, and I really want to applaud you for doing that. I'm telling you,
Thank
every
you.
time I talk to people who do what you do, it's really amazing. And of course, I have to also ask you this question as well, because I want people to get a 360-degree view of
Mhm.
the different ways that people provide this type of service. And
Mhm.
being a professional, how are you managing with all of the things that you're intaking? Are you also practicing your DBT and your steps to make sure that you're
Mhm.
okay while you're doing all this?
Great question. I love it, love it, love it. And so I do a couple things. First of all, I have to do my own personal development in becoming a social worker. We had to do this stuff. We had to make sure that we were in therapy and having therapy sessions and dealing with our hardcore stuff. Now, how I take care of myself now is, yes, I do use my planner. I have a couple of accountability partners that say, Miranda, maybe you should use a DBT skill. My mother has taken DBT. She's done a whole DBT group. So sometimes I'll try to like guilt trip her into doing something, and she'll say, "Oh no," and she'll bust out with a skill that, well, you need to use such and such skill. You'll be fine. So my mom's on board with using DBT.
Mm-hmm.
I have a business coach that keeps me on track, and I also have, my own personal therapist that when I'm just like, okay, I need to check in, I need to tune up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have to make sure I'm well so that I can help other people
Right.
be, continue their journey of wellness. I'm a strong believer in faith, so I'm in church. I'm praying. I'm believing in miracles. I'm asking for miracles. All of those things, because we're a whole person, and there's so many parts that make up who we are. Doing just one thing is not. It doesn't make sense to only. Okay, I'm only going to do exercise, and that's how I'm going to take care of myself. Well, that's great, but if you're exercising and you're not eating healthy and you're not sleeping, then you're out of balance. So DBT and what I try to do and help other people do, and including myself, is I have to promote emotional, mental, and spiritual wellness, because we are a whole, complete person. So as much as I tell other people, I have my own accountability partners to say, Miranda, check in. How are you doing in those areas? And I'm not offended by that. When I'm out, when I'm
Right.
off, I'm off. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I have to ask that question every time because we all handle it differently. And
Yes.
one of the reasons why I ask this question because The purpose of this is for folks to come and listen to stories so that they
Mhm.
can get a full understanding of how people do this type of work
Yes.
and how do you maintain and balance your life in addition to,
Mhm.
all that's going on in your own personal life. So if
Mhm.
you was to give any advice to those who are interested in learning more about, DBT, I'm not going to try to pronounce it again, right, Manette? If they want to know more about DBT, what three pieces of advice would you give to them that would be the most helpful?
Well, piece of advice I would say is do your own personal healing first, or do it simultaneously, at the same time, because hurting people hurt people. Healed people heal people. So we have to, be honest with yourself and find an accountability partner and be able to own up and open to that person to keep you on the track that you want to be on, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of that. So that's what I would advise on that end. As far as being able to do DBT and to, of course, going to an accredited college is going to help with the LCSW portion of it. But I received my training through, what is it, behavioral tech. And so you can go behavioraltech.org and find out more information about that. My website does have some information, and that's Oasis, www.oasislcsw.com. And then for people that are already in the mental health profession, they'll be able to get this training. I have it's about I forget how many hours, a couple hours of DBT training that I will be putting on my website for people to also have access to that want more information about how to utilize these skills. And I have about 3 hours of content of walking people through using the planner and integrating the DBT skills into their own personal life as well.
All right, fantastic. So, coming down to the last part of your interview,
Mhm.
let everybody know what activities you're in right now, where you're going to be. Are you speaking somewhere that you would like folks to come out and listen to your speech about DBT or other areas of your business?
Okay, sure. I have a couple different things coming up, and this Saturday, March 10th, I'll be in Hampton, Virginia, and I will be at the Tiara and Pearls event. And this event it's a women's empower event, and there's going to be speakers on human trafficking. There's going to be an all-male panel discussion. But my focus is going to be a lot of what we talked about today is finding that balance. So how do we find the balance as women? We have this superwoman kind of syndrome going on with us. How do we balance out being the mom, being the friend, being the sister, being the employee, being the businesswoman, and not lose it on people all the time? So that's coming up on March 10th. March 16th, I will be speaking at Crest Star, and that'll be in Norfolk, Virginia. And March 17th, I will be speaking at Women of Worth, Healing Her Private Parts, and that will be in Norfolk. No, that's going to be in Newport News, Virginia, and that's going to be about emotional, spiritual, and physical healing. I'm also going to be speaking to Optima Behavioral Health on March 20th. I have a teen tea talk, so our young girls, empowering our young girls. That's going to be on April 21st, and that'll be in Suffolk, Virginia. And then I will be in San Diego, California on April 27th at the Uncover Girl Conference. And again, all of this will be on my website. It's on my Facebook page. The name of the
Yeah.
business,
Go
Oasis.
ahead and go ahead and
Okay,
give that out so that people can find that quickly.
sure.
Yeah,
So
give
you
it out.
just pop on, if you're on Facebook, your Facebook user, look me up, like the page, follow the page. It's Oasis Clinical Counseling Services, the name of the business. And then my website is www.oasislcsw.com, and you'll be able to find all of this information and where to go on either of those places.
Fantastic. And so, just to wrap this up, everyone, this is definitely something that I think all of us need to investigate. DBT is definitely out there. We have heard so many different ways on how we can get in touch with our feelings, our emotions, to manage our mental, particularly stress and depression, because in the last year or so, there's been an uprising of that. This is just another
Mm-hmm.
area for us to all look at, investigate. It's not going to hurt us
That's
in
right.
the least to just figure out if we have anything that needs help. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
encourage you to contact Miranda, go to her events, check out her webpage, look up and Google it,
Mm-hmm.
DBT and how this affects you, because we all could use more information on how to manage our mental health. It is so
Yes,
critical, and especially for our kids. If anything, learn what it is so that you can recognize things that's happening in your family that
that's
maybe you can
right.
be a help. And if you're not sure, we got you down because Miss Miranda is here. She is the DBT expert. So we want you to look down at the bottom of her page and pick up a copy of her book, reach out to
Yes,
her, and also touch base with all the other mental therapists that we're going to have on this platform in 2018. So, Miranda,
yes.
I am so appreciative of you sharing. So thank you for being
Thank
a business
you.
affiliate sponsor and sharing your talent and knowledge with everybody. I am so happy that I have met you, and now I know I
Yes,
need to go out there and investigate DBT to see
yes.
if there's something in there I need to get to check on. I got to check
Mm-hmm.
this. I got to check to see what's going on. And I really appreciate you being here on this platform this year.
Thank you for having me.